what should we expect from Jay Norvell and Colorado State in 2023? This is a team that is trying to get back into being a contender in the Mountain West. And we're going to take a look today at the top 10 players that can make that happen. Now, a 3-9 season was very disappointing, but one of the bright spots was wide receiver Tory Horton. Over 1,100 yards, averaged 15.9 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns, first team All Mountain West. He was just another receiver. When you looked at what Jay Norvell brought to the table, you knew offense was going to be a strength. I don't think we knew this was going to happen, but it was a nice surprise. Horton is just another player to fall in the lines of the Romeo Dubs of the world from Nevada. Norvell has proven that he can create explosive offenses, and they're looking to take another step in 2023. Giving Horton some help is going to be the biggest thing because he was so good last year that teams know who he is and they are not going to let him beat them. There are other players that need to step up. We'll talk about one of them here in a little bit, but this is a guy who commands a lot of respect because of his production. Now, he was at Nevada before, followed Norvell over, and it's going to be fun to see what he can do to replicate that success or even build upon that. Torrey Harden is a big time playmaker, a big time weapon for Colorado State. And if the quarterback position can take a step forward and the guys around him can help, this offense is going to be really, really tough to stop. Going to the defensive side of the ball, this is where things need to get better, but there were some bright spots, and MOHAMED KAMARA was one of those bright spots. 16 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, second team All Mountain West selection, big time playmaker on the edge. And when you're trying to affect the offenses in the Mountain West, it's going to be tough. There are a lot of talented offenses this year, and getting to the quarterback on the edge is going to be huge. Kamara is one of those players that we were expecting him to break out. It was only a matter of time. And last year was a big year. Now, when you look at what the rest of the group did, this is one player that did his part. Now, when you look at the disruptiveness of this defense, 88th in sacks, 86th in tackles for loss. Not exactly a disruptive group. That is one area that they can work on. And the front seven needs some help. This is kind of the same thing as Horton, but on the defensive side of the ball. Kamara is one of those guys that is going to do his part. It's just a matter of who else is going to be around to help him out. Going back to the secondary, Chigozie, ANUSIEM, second team All Mountain West, according to College Football Network, had a solid year, 9 passes defended, no interceptions. Still looking for that interception to be able to help this team out a little bit more. The turnover margin wasn't good for Colorado State. They were -4 on the season, which was 95th in the entire country. I really like this secondary. I think that this is a underrated group, one of the better groups in the Mountain West. I think that they have the ability to turn things around, and that's going to help their offense as well because you're facing a secondary that should be pretty good. That's going to help your wide receivers. That's going to help your quarterback get good reps in practice. And ANUSIEM is just one of the guys that we're going to talk about today that's going to have a potential big time impact on Colorado State's season, not even just on the secondary, the season as a whole. This is a team that finished 19th in the country in passing yards per game defensively. So that is a unit that is solid. This should be a group that it could have a top 25 secondary as well in 2023. I think this defense was fairly surprising. Now, when you brought Norvell in, you probably thought offense was going to be the strength. Nope, it was the defense. Now, there are still plenty of things for them to work on, but the secondary is one of those concerns that you just don't have. Another play to talk about, Jack Howell. The safety was a first team All Mountain West selection. 108 tackles. You'd really like to see that number go down, but 3 passes defended and 3 interceptions. He was a big time playmaker for this defense, someone who is really going to give them that veteran presence. And again, you'd like to see that 108 tackle number go down. Now, it's great that he can make plays when it comes to stopping the ball carrier, but you'd really like to see your safety make less tackles. It means that your front line, the front seven, isn't doing their job, but Howell can get the job done if they need him. You'd like to see him do less work. You'd like to see more of the passes defended and interceptions go up or stay the same. That means that he is commanding the secondary, that it means he is playing back. He does not need to clean up the mess that is up front, and that's going to be huge. Now, you look at yards per play allowed, the front seven was bad. This team finished 31st in yards per play allowed. That's pretty good for a defense, again, that was the highlight of this team. Now, if the offense takes a step forward, they still expect this defense to help out. And again, this secondary is going to do its part. Now, the quarterback position is one that everybody focuses on with Jay Norvell, and Clay Millen followed him from Nevada to Colorado State. Completed 72.2% of his passes, but it was because you're throwing a lot of those quick screens, but also Colorado State's offense was not on the field that much last year. This is a group that needs to take steps forward in terms of explosiveness, picking up first downs. And when you look at yards per play, only averaged 4.8 yards per play. That's not exactly great. 114th in the country. Scoring 13.2 points per game also isn't going to do it. That's going to lead to a 3-9 record. But Clay Millen has the ability to change that. Now that he has a full year of experience under his belt, he can improve upon his numbers. We know he's an accurate quarterback. We know that he knows how to run this offense. They just have to stay on the field longer. So picking up first downs, making this offense more explosive, finding guys outside of Tory Horton that can help out is going to probably be the biggest step and the biggest thing that's going to help their success this year. One of those guys that can also help out, running back Avery Morrow, 834 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. The rushing attack wasn't great, 127th. They only average 89 yards per game as a team. You're not even averaging 100 yards as a team. That is something that needs to improve. Now, when you look at what Jay Norvell did at Nevada, it wasn't like this group was it wasn't it was an air raid for a reason. This was a team in Nevada that was throwing the ball everywhere, and that's what they're expecting to do at Colorado State. But that doesn't mean you can't improve the rushing attack as well. What they did last year was just not going to get the job done. There's a big reason why they weren't successful, and throwing the ball obviously needs to improve as well. But if you can run the football better, it's gonna open things up for your offense even more. And Morrow's a guy who can make that happen. It's just a matter of picking up those first downs, fighting for extra yards, and obviously you got to figure things out up front. That's going to be huge too. And Norvell has his work cut out for him, but this could be a group that takes a step forward this year. One of the guys that can help Tory Horton this year, Justice ROSS-SIMMONS. This is someone who's going to get a lot of favorable matchups. You're going to get, with Horton commanding a lot of attention, people know who he is, and that leaves things open for ROSS-SIMMONS. This is someone who averaged 16.3 yards per catch last year, just limited on 26 catches, but this is a year where he can step up. He has the opportunity to make more plays and maybe close that gap between him and Horton. There needs to be more consistent play from the number 2 and the number 3 guys in this passing attack, and Justice ROSS-SIMMONS is someone who can take that step and be that guy for them. Going back to the secondary, AYDEN HECTOR probably deserves to be higher on this list, honestly, but it doesn't really matter. This group is a really talented group in the secondary. 7 passes defended, 3 interceptions. I think this is one of the better secondaries in the Mountain West. The more I talk about them, the more I think that they're going to be good. And they added a couple players that could also contribute this year as well. One of them we'll talk about next. AYDEN HECTOR joins Jack Howell in the secondary. Probably gives them 2 of the best safeties in the conference, and even in the group of 5. This is, again, this Colorado State defense, specifically the secondary, is going to be fun. And I think that that's something that's flying under the radar right now because Colorado State went 3-9 last year. Furman transfer Dominic Morris comes into the secondary and joins a talented group. Now, he was productive in his time at Furman, but he joins a secondary that is a proven group. Now, this is a position that needs to step up because with guys like ANUSIEM playing on the opposite side, teams might avoid that side of the ball. And we are also looking at safeties in Howell and Hector. That gives one option mostly for teams to look at. Now, they'll probably still test those guys and whatnot, but Dominic Morris is going to have to prove his worth. Coming from the FCS level to the FBS level always means that teams are going to be looking to try and exploit you. And if he's able to prove that he belongs, this will once again be an elite group in the secondary. That's going to be fun to see. This defense has a lot of potential this year. And again, it's all in the offense to figure things out, but this defense should be just fine again. Up front, we talked about the need for this group to be much better. Matthew Thomas comes in from Rhode Island to help that regard. Mohamed KAMARA is going to do his part, and inside, Matthew Thomas has the potential to be a really exciting player. Now, one thing that was really fun in the transfer portal this year was the amount of SCS players that teams took a look at. And guys like Matthew Thomas got opportunities because some of his teammates were able to go to Power 5 gigs, which means that teams had eyes on the teammates that they had as well. One of those guys was Matthew Thomas, and being able to slow down the rushing attack is probably the one thing that this group could improve upon. Now, tackles for loss will probably increase if you have better play on the inside. You're able to hold things up, create blockages where running backs can't get through, and that leaves things for guys like KAMARA to be able to clean up, or even the linebackers. This is a team that finished 84th in rushing yards per game against, and guys like Matthew Thomas will be able to make that even better. Colorado State is interesting. I don't think that they're going to compete for a Mountain West championship, but I think they are going to be much better than their 3-9 record last year. I really like what Jay Norvell had did at Nevada, and I think he can do the same at Colorado State. It feels like the ceiling for Colorado State, though, is higher than it was at Nevada. If that is true, if that is the case, we'll see some improvement this year, and it's just a matter of how high do they go from this 3-9. It's not going to be a contender in the conference for a title, but it's going to be better than they were last year.